Okay, so this has been completed. So next step is, now we need to create one iSCSI virtual disk. So through Windows 2022 DC System Server Manager, File and Storage Services, iSCSI. Right click on iSCSI 400 GB VHDX and select Assign iSCSI Virtual Disk. Okay, so we will go step by step. We come back to my DC system. Let's exit this and I will open Server Manager. And there is an option called File and Storage Services. Okay, now under File and Storage Services, iSCSI, right click on iSCSI 400 GB VHDX and select Assign iSCSI Virtual Disk. So I will click on iSCSI, and now this particular iSCSI 400 GB is visible because we have created. I will right click it and I will say Assign iSCSI Virtual Disk. Okay, let's move on to the next step. So next step is through Assign iSCSI Target, select New iSCSI Target and click Next. Okay, so we are creating a new iSCSI target over here and I will say Next. So next step is we need to give some appropriate name to our iSCSI target. So and description and click Next. So I'm just giving the name. Okay, you can give any specific name as per your wish. Okay, I will say Next. Coming back to the next step. So next step is, this is very important step, we need to add our access servers. That means which servers will access this iSCSI SAN. So which servers we need to add? We need to add ESXHOST 01 and 02. IP addresses or FQDN also you can add. So on access servers, click on add and configure following values. Enter a specified value type, IP address, and then value will be 192.168.1.7 and 192.168.1.16, which are the IP addresses of our ESXHOST 01 and 02. Okay, so coming back here, I will click on add and type. I need to change the type as IP address and value will be 192.168.1.7 and I will say OK, and one more time IP address 192.168.1.16. okay, now these are the two addresses or these are the two servers which can access our iSCSI SAN storage. So we have added them as a target access server. Okay, this is target vSAN server is Windows 2022 DC and target access servers are our ESXHOST 01 and 02, their IPs. Okay, I hope I'm clear with this step. So I will say next. So next step is you can enable authentication as CHAP for the advanced security level, but as of now I'm not enabling it, so I will leave it as it is and I will say next. So I'm not enabling anything, I will say next. Okay, So next is on confirmation page, click assign. So it will give you the summary whatever we have selected. Server Windows 2022 DC, it is not clustered yet. Path will be this D drive local path. Target properties, the name of our iSCSI SAN is this one. Description is same. Access servers are 1.7 and 1.16, that is our ESX host 01 and 02. Okay, and our CHAP authentication and reverse CHAP authentication is as of now disabled. So I will say assign. Okay, now everything is completed. Okay, I will come back here. And now once iSCSI target gets successfully assigned, on results page click close. So now our iSCSI target has been assigned to our ESX host, both ESX hosts. Okay, let's move on to the next step. So next step is through Windows 2022 DC browser access our ESX host 01 and log in through root account. So I'm closing this window as of now. Open and I will log into my 1.7, that is my ESX host 01. So log in with your root credentials, login. So this is the home page of our ESX host 01 web console. Let's move on to the next step. So next step is through our ESX host web console, we need to go to the storage, then iSCSI software adapter and software iSCSI enable option. Okay, so I will go to the storage option over here. I will go to the adapters and I will go to the software iSCSI. So currently the software iSCSI is disabled, so I will make it enable so that it will scan our iSCSI target. I will say enable and save configuration. And one more time I will just say refresh. Okay, so what we have done, we have enabled our iSCSI target server. iSCSI is enabled now. Okay, now let's move on to the next step. So next step is through configure iSCSI console dynamic targets, add dynamic targets and add 192.168.1.34, that is the second IP of our 2022 DC system. Okay, and save configuration. So what I am doing is coming back to my screen. iSCSI is enabled, but I need to add the dynamic targets. Okay, so I will say add dynamic target and I will add my DC system. So 192.168.1.34, this is the secondary IP what we have added few steps back. Now I told you I will explain you later. Now this is a second IP which will be a dedicated vSAN IP. It is not recommended to use your primary IP because it will choke your primary connectivity bandwidth and everything. A dedicated NIC is always recommended for your vSAN connectivity. Okay, so I have added this particular address. Okay, and I will say save configuration. Okay, so you can see over here it is updating our internet iSCSI alias. Okay, so if I'm again going back to my software iSCSI, you can see over here my dynamic target has been added 192.168.1.34. I'm again re-explaining this one. We have added our second IP the second NIC's IP of Windows 2022 DC as a dynamic target for this particular iSCSI vSAN. Okay, so you can see over here both the IPs are now showing, but it will take our primary IP as a second option and our 1.34 as our first option. I hope I'm clear. Okay, so coming back to the PPT. So back to the main storage menu, click on rescan. Okay, so this particular configuration is already saved, and now I will rescan. Why? Because it will show my 400 GB vSAN storage. So I will say rescan. Okay, so I have rescanned it. Let's move on to the next step. So still on storage menu, click on devices and verify that new 400 GB storage LUN is visible. So I'm coming back here, and now I will go to the devices, and you can see over here this 400 GB, sorry, go back here, 400 GB is visible now. Okay, why? Because we have added as a dynamic target and we have rescanned our vSAN storage. Okay, so 400 GB is visible now. Okay, now we will use this 400 GB as a virtual SAN for both of our ESX hosts. I hope I am clear. Okay, so let's go back to our PPT. So next is we need to create a new data store. So still on storage menu, click on data store and new data store. Now our disk is visible, but we need to create it, or we need to provision it as a data store. So on the storage, I will say new data store over here. Okay, next, under the new data store, select creation type wizard, select create a new VMFS data store and click next. Okay, so new data store, name, I will just give a data store name over here. Next, step is select a device. So we need to select a device and provide appropriate data store name and select appropriate disk. So we have already given the appropriate name, and now we should select our iSCSI 400 GB and click next. So this is showing iSCSI 400 GB. So I will choose this. If there are multiple LUNs, it will show one by one. So whatever LUN you want to create, you can select. But as of now, we have created only one. So 400 GB, I will say next. So next is we need to now format this particular partition with our VMFS. VMFS is a default file system for VMware. Okay, so on select partition options, make sure use full disk and VMFS 6 options are selected and click next. So now VMware will format this partition of 400 GB. Use full disk, or you can use the custom one if you want to. Let's say out of 400 GB, you will be using only 200 GB. You need to use 200. That also you can do. But as of now, I'm just using use full disk VMFS 6. Next. Okay. So next is on ready to complete, click finish and click yes. So on ready to complete window, I will say finish. It will ask the entire contents of the disk are about to be erased because it will format with the VMFS. I will say yes. Okay, this is done. Now our storage is ready with the VMFS file system as a new data store. Okay, now these steps are a bit complicated at times if you are doing it first time or something like that, but if you want you can reverse this video again one more time. You can see those steps as many times as you want. Okay, so this is done. Now next step is verify that the newly created data store ESX VMFS or whatever name we have given is visible under ESX host 01 data store menu. So we'll go back here and we'll click on storage and we'll click on data store, and you can see this data store is now visible. Okay, your free space and everything is now showing. Okay, capacity is 400 GB and everything is there. Okay, device type non-SSD or not. So now our data store is created on ESX host 01. So let's move on to the next step. So now next step, we need to repeat steps from 85 to 88 on ESX host 02 server to configure and rescan the new data store iSCSI vSAN disk. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's go back to our DC system and I will go to the ESX host configuration. I will log in with root login. Now we need to repeat 2-3 steps again on ESX host 02. What are those steps? So I will go to the storage and I will go to software SCSI. Here it is disabled as of now, so I will make it enable first. Let it load. Okay, once this is loaded, I will go to the dynamic targets and add dynamic target, and I will add the IP of my DC system 192.168.1.34. Okay, and I will say save configuration. So this is completed. Okay, let's go back and recheck over here. Now these IPs have been added as in dynamic targets. Okay, so this has been done, and then let's go back to our devices and you can see the 400 GB is visible now. Okay, I will say rescan, and just to make sure that this is refreshing correctly. So this is 400 GB. Now I will go to the data store, and now you can see that my storage is visible, that VMFS data store is visible on ESX host 02 also. So we have added our dynamic targets and we have rescanned our storage. Please note that you don't have to reformat this data store on ESX host 02 because it is already been reformatted from VMFS file system from ESX host 01. So you don't have to repeat that step, but you have to add the dynamic targets, rescan, and it will show the available VMFS data store over here. Okay, so this is how you can complete the vSAN storage assignment on both ESX host 01 and ESX host 02. Okay, so Let's go back to our PPT, and the next step, that verify that the common data store VMFS DS is visible under ESXHOST02 data store menu. So this we have already verified. Okay, this is ESX02 storage VMFS data store is visible under ESXHOST02 server also.